You know, trout season is right around the corner, and I know we're getting all anxious to get out there on the streams. Did you ever wonder how those fish get from the hatchery to your favorite stream? Well, we're going to take a behind-the-scene look at Delaware Valley Outdoors to see how they actually get there. I have the opportunity to be at the Trout Hatchery in New Jersey, and I'm going to meet with Jeff Matthews, and he's going to tell us all about it. Jeff, how you doing?
Hi, Bob. Good to see you.
Jeff, what a wonderful facility you have here. You're the superintendent of this facility here at Trout Hatchery. Tell us a little bit about the hatchery itself.
Well, what we do here, this place was opened up in 1983, and we raise all the trout for the entire state of New Jersey, where the public has access to fish.
So this where it's raised, and then it's dispersed throughout
Yes,
the
it is.
whole state.
We raise over 600,000 trout here for our spring stocking program every year, and we have numerous other stocking programs that we run from this facility also.
That's amazing. Now, you're going to take us to, I think, the nursery? Or
yes, first we'll start out back at the nursery building, is basically where we bring our eggs in. We do our own eggs here, and we hatch them out, and we can start back there.
Okay,
that's good. I can show you the incubators. And
let's do that. Let's go.
Okay, very good. Okay, Bob, here's where it all begins, right here in the incubator room. Once we take the eggs out of the fish down back, we bring all the eggs into this incubator room here, and what we have here is a cascading set of incubators. And what happens with these is the water comes in. Keep in mind, again, it's 52 degrees year-round. And we put the eggs in these trays right in here, and we put about 20,000 eggs in each tray. And what happens, the water cascades down over them, and it takes anywhere from 35 to 40 days for a trout egg to hatch.
And then they stay in these trays for at least a month?
Yes. Yep, they're in these trays for a month.
And then you take these trays, and then where do we go from there?
We take the trays after the fish are hatched, we take them out into the nursery building outside out here, and we put them in the insert tanks.
How many fish eggs do you actually hatch in a?
Well, normally we take about 900,000 of each species. 900. And we get anywhere from a 50 to 80% hatch.
Yeah, well, you think, but that's an awful lot of things. And when do you start this?
We start in the beginning of September, and usually by mid-October we're finished with all 3 species.
Okay, so we take a tray of these, and then we go out.
And then we're going to go out to the nursery building with them. Yep.
All right, let's go
after
see
hatch.
That.
Okay.
Jeff, what do we have? This is a huge room. What's in here now?
Basically, we have the 2006 production fish in here that were hatched out this past year. And when they are hatched out of the incubator room, we bring them out into these larger tanks. What happens out here is these are growing tanks, and they're basically in the nursery building here for 4 months, 3 to 4 months basically. Then they're moved outside as we stock the big fish in the spring.
Out into the big raceways.
Yeah, it's a continuous production cycle. Everything keeps moving. We're always a year ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, that's amazing, because you think about this. You're thinking of the 2007 almost.
Right. Absolutely.
Year, next year out. Is that the have now? Each tank has a separate species. Am I correct?
Yes. And what we're looking at here, these are all brook trout, slated to go out in 2006.
Okay, and the brook trout, and then and here are brook trout too.
These are also all brook trout.
And what do you have? And what's behind us?
And there's brown trout on the other side of the nursery building here. And basically, what we're looking at here is about 9,000 to 12,000 fish per tank. 9,000 to 12,000. So, what do you have with this whole room? How many would you estimate that we keep? We're probably looking at about 700,000 to 800,000 fish in this building right now.
That's amazing. That's
with all 3 species.
And you have about 80% growth, reproduction rate?
60 to 80% hatch, then our survival rate is nearly 90, 95%.
Now I noticed the pellets that I have here are real tiny.
Well, the smaller the fish, the smaller the pellet. It's basically the same diet. These smaller pellets for these smaller fish, it's a little more protein in them than the larger fish.
And the growth rate is pretty quick with
The growth rate is very quick in here. Usually about a 1 to 1.2 inches a month.
All right, I'm going to try to feed some, all right?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Jeff, what is this, a light or something, or what is this?
No, this is actually an automatic feeder, Bob. These feed the fish about 8 to 10 times a day inside the nursery building here. The employees come in and they fill these feed with a weighted amount of feed, and the timers are set. And then by the end of the day, this feed will be fed out. The less contact we have with these fish, the better off we are. It's a time-saving device also, where we don't have to come in here and actually hand feed them 8 times a day.
So it's set on a timer so that every, couple hours it drops the feed
About
in?
every 45 minutes to an hour, it drops a little bit of feed in, yes.
And then that's done for the day, and then the next day they're...
Yep, next day they're refilled again.
That's amazing. That's really good. Yeah, it's probably a good time-saving thing, because of all the tanks in here, I mean, you can be here all day long trying to feed them.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really cool. All right, now where are we off to now?
I guess we're off to the production raceways.
All right, Jeff, we just came from the nursery here, and now we're out at the Raceway. Tell us about the raceways here.
Okay, what we do, Bob, is when the fish reach a certain size in the building, 3 to 4 inches, they're moved out here on the raceways on the outside. The fish we're looking at now are all going to be stocked this year and replaced with the small young of the year fish out of the nursery building.
So this is replenished, each stocking.
Yes, it is.
It's replenished.
It's a continuous production cycle.
So the younger fish are over there, then the stocking of this year are over here.
Right.
And then you keep each species in a separate raceway, is that correct?
Right, yes it is. And after we stock these, we'll be sorting our young of the year fish for size and resetting them up into these raceways for the following year.
It's amazing the amount of actual technical things that has to go on here, sorting and all the other stuff besides raising the fish.
Right.
But the water situation here, you go through a lot of water, which is very important, am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. What we have here in the Peak West Valley is we have a series of 6 wells. We can pump up to 7,000 gallons a minute through these raceways. The water temperature remains constant year-round at 52 degrees, which is a very important factor on growing trout, keeping a constant water temperature.
And I know that you're proud of this, and that you should be, as far as cleanliness and bacteria is gone here, right?
Everything is held to a minimum here. We are a pathogen-free facility, one of the few left in the nation at this point in time. We follow strict procedures for access out on these raceways. We don't let the general public out. We don't let vehicles from the outside in. We don't let our stocking trucks come into the raceways. All of our work and labor on stocking is done outside the fence. We take all our fish out to our stocking trucks.
And that's important. I mean, to keep this place really clean, because a disease gets into this hatchery and you're finished, am I right?
What would happen, yes, we'd lose a lot of fish. We'd lose our growing potential here. The fish wouldn't grow. We do strive on our final production goal of 10.5 inches here, and anything that might interfere with that, we would not be able to complete that.
And I know, go back to the cleanliness, after you do these, you clean the raceways really with steam cleaners and stuff?
Yes, we do. These raceways are cleaned every year, once a year with the steam cleaners. Once the fish are taken out in the spring, we have our staff with the steam cleaners rolling every day, cleaning the raceways, and then before we replenish them then.
Jeff, let's just talk a little bit more about the well situation. How many wells do you have? This is a huge property. I'm amazed. What do you have, like 4,000 acres?
We have 4,000 acres here in the Peak West Valley, and what we're standing on is basically an underground aquifer. And we chose to buy the land around it to protect that aquifer for this facility. And what we have is we have 6 wells throughout the valley. Our biggest well is down at the end of the valley, about 1.2 miles down the valley from here. And that well is capable of pumping 3,000 gallons a minute itself. But combined, we are licensed to take 7,000 gallons a minute, and at this point in time, and this time of the year, this is our heaviest load. We are pumping about 6,800 gallons a minute.
And you also said you have backups in case these wells go down. You have backup wells. You have backup generators too?
We have backup diesels on our remote well houses out in the field, and we have one main backup generator in our nursery building here to keep that running. We have experienced a lot of power outages in this valley.
Yeah, and that's well, you need that flow.
If the water stops, that's kind of it for us.
Now, these where we're standing right now, the trucks come up here and pump the fish to another truck. Explain how that works from...
Okay, our in-hatchery trucks, we have 3 of them, counting the feed truck. The only ones allowed on the raceways. And what we do at this time of the year is we have a fish pump. And what we do is we displace the water off the trucks and refill them with fish. That's how we weigh our fish here. It's the displacement method. And we take our fish outside the gate to the stocking trucks in the remote area down at the end of the raceways, and they're loaded from there, and then they're sent off throughout the state.
Yeah, and the truck, they're really interesting trucks that you have that come on the site up here, because you actually have like a meter or gauge on the truck that measures the water, and then you displace that with fish. Right. Is that how it works?
Yes, it is. We set the water levels on the trucks. We actually weigh the water off,